Good morning, those of you out in the land of YouTubes, and welcome to another exciting episode of Creation, or subtitled, What Do I Do With All of This Shit? You see, I have an affinity here for turning junk into something useful and unique. Now, one of the things I do is I scour the countrysides looking for unique things, and and while we're at flea markets and other kinds of bazaars, and my wife is off looking for Roosevelt pottery and Bessie Peasy Gussman prints, I'm on the shady side of town negotiating with ones of all shapes and sizes for all kinds of discarded accoutrements. One of the things I stumbled upon was we passed this place and it looked like a junkyard for old amusement rides. The fellow there was quite eccentric, but he had milk crates full of gears and things like this, which kind of lend themselves to the steampunk genre, which I like steampunk stuff. So I think I'm making another lamp, and I'm trying to get my stuff together here and decide what I want to put on it and how I want it to be. One peculiar thing about these gears is they're metal, but they're cast iron, which makes attaching them to anything rather difficult. You can't weld them. So you have to build a mating structure, and what better structure to use with iron than these black iron, Chinese iron fittings and pipes and so forth. And that keeps everything within the same food group. So I'm going to go through this box and through this bench and see what kind of item I could come up with. Stay tuned. Okay, I've decided that I'm going to do a lamp project. And the lamp project I'm going to do is going to be centered around this gear here, this big gear. My other lamps I used a gear as a base. This one I want the gear this way, vertically, and I also want this guy to be able to spin. It'll be unique, and I will use black iron pipe as a frame stand, and I'll have a single bulb that will come up and over. Now, one of the things I'm going to have to do here, since I want this gear to rotate on this bearing sleeve, which needs some polishing up, is I'm going to have to weld these two flanges together so this stays stationary, and this gear will be able to actually spin in its setting if you turn it. I was going to put a motor on it. I said to myself, how's that? A lamp with a spinning gear. Two problems here. Firstly, try to find an AC motor that spins slow enough, and second is just really where to mount it. So I came across a rotisserie motor from like a barbecue, and that runs at 2.5 or 3 RPM, so that would be a nice slow moving. The one problem with that is it is noisy as fuck. It would be annoying to hear all that, because in order to use an AC motor that has enough torque to turn a fairly heavy gear and turn it slowly, they have to gear that motor way down, and there's a gearbox, and all of those gears are turning and winding, and it's, if you ever stood next to a barbecue rotisserie, you know what I was talking about. It's noisy. So we're going to get to work first cleaning all of this stuff up. I mean, when I got all of these amusement ride gears and parts, they were just covered with grease from the Eisenhower administration. that's how far back some of these things probably go. So I soaked them in a vat of kerosene that I have out back. And now I'm just going to wire wheel everything and get everything nice and clean. And once we get this guy situated the way we want it, then we could start building the base. And I have about 15 pounds of black iron stuff that is going to be used to make it. So I'll be taking videos as we go along as this thing progresses. But the first thing is get these wire wheels in action and get all of this stuff cleaned up. Well, a wee bit of the wire wheel, and by God, these things look like just came out of Hart and Cooley's Tilt-A-Whirl factory out of Respo, Indiana in 1951. Okay, now we're going to get this sleeve welded up. This is steel. It's not cast iron. So we are going to weld this so it's one solid piece. And the gear will be able to ride on this freshly dollied up bearing. I'll get back to you. Okay, I just want to show all my home gamers the concept here. I have the gear suspended, and because I've welded the center shaft, so now this thing spins freely on the bearing. What I don't like is this is a 1/2 inch to 3/8 coupling, and this is actually a 1/2 inch 13 thread. They don't match up. These are NPT threads here, and these are 13 American Standard threads here. I also don't like the width of it. It's let's see how long it is, how wide it is. We're talking somewhere it's about 1 foot. Yeah, a foot, a little. I'd like it a little smaller. I'd like it like 10 inches. This is the depth, and the width will be here. So this is just we have a design in our head, and we know what we're going to do, and we have the components to do it, but we just have to refine it as we go. So I'm going to snip these studs back a bit, and then I'm probably just going to bore these out and let this shaft kind of float in here. I just may use some JB Weld on that just to hold it in place. There's not going to be any torque on it or anything. Yeah, that sounds like a better bet to me, because this is a little, if you have a desk or something like that, you don't want something sticking out 1 foot from the wall, you know, if it's just a little too far. So I'm going to cut this down, and so we're just going to refine the shape, but I just wanted to show you the concept. And this will be a frame around here, so forth and so on, and out of here will bloom the lamp and other projectiles, you know, as you see fit. So we'll get back to you when that's all done. So after mucho finagling with this thing, it's not easy to do a square layout like this without pipe onions, or unions as they're called. But anyway, we got what we need finally, and And now we can begin building the rest of it. Okay, so now I just have to put in the valve switch and the stem and then wire the actual lamp. But here is the gist of it. So I have some kind of pressure release valve over here. We have a turning gear, one small PSI gauge, one old school PSI gauge, and our lamp will come here. So that's where we're at thus far. Home stretch. And as you can see, it's time to just finish wiring this thing up. I want to talk about something. This is a what I use in my Steampunk lamp for a switch. It's so when you turn this, the light goes on, and you turn it again, and the light goes off. I think it really makes the project, rather than just a pull chain or something. Now this switch is a gate valve with a wafer switch wired into it. A wafer switch is, you might see like on a cheap desk lamp. It's the little black plastic button that you just turn one way all the time, turn the lamp on and off. Now I've made a few of these for my other lamps, but I found a guy on eBay by the name of Larry's Lights. I think he owns some kind of electrical supply, and he does this as a hobby and sideline. And he wires these gate valves in both 3/4 inch and 1/2 inch. Let me tell you something, folks. He does a good job. These are not that difficult to do, but they're not that easy. You have to drill out a cavity in here. You have to deburr it. You have to set your switch in it. You have to take this apart. You have to get the switch properly fastened in there with like JB Weld or some sort of adhesive. And I've made a couple, and I'll be honest with you, for once that I found it's more efficient to get them from Larry. Okay, cost-wise, it's about the same. You buy the gate valve, and you buy the switch, and you buy the wires, and whatever, and then you take the time to do it, where you could just get it from Larry. I think this was about $14 plus a couple of bucks to ship it. Well worth it. So he's the go-to guy for my switches these days. And this gets wired to the lamp cord. This gets put on here like so, because we want the switch above the gear here. So, and then we'll come up with our lamp neck and finish it up. As far as wiring, I don't do any soldering. I just use crimp connections on these. One of the things I want to explain to you about the wiring is when you use your lamp cords, you have, hopefully you can see this, you have a wide blade and you have a straight blade. The wide blade goes in the neutral connection of the plug. I think it's important to keep continuity. So when you look at a lamp cord like this I got at Lowe's, probably made in China, but one of the standards we have in this country is the neutral always has to be readily identifiable. And in most cases, you're not going to be able to see this in the video, you'll feel a little ridge on the neutral side of the wire, whereas the hot side of the wire is smooth. So on the neutral side is where we want to connect our light colored wire, and on the hot side is where we want to connect our dark colored wire, and we keep that continuity flowing throughout the lamp with black and white wire. This is an easy wiring. It's only got one bulb. I've made Steampunk lamps with 3 bulbs and 2 bulbs, and So this will be relatively simple. It's just a straight run. So that's what we do. Crimp connections. Making sure that the connections are tight. You're making sure there's no burrs or anything like that, of course. And the best thing to do is do the wiring first and then put your fixture on. Don't try to thread wires through this stuff. You may think it's easy, but it's really not. The wires just kind of stop there. And so we'll get this thing wired up. And we're going to use this cage for a bulb protector. And of course we have the old-fashioned Edison light bulb that goes in there. So I really don't see the point in continuing any explanation except showing you all this thing when it's done. And of course, if you have any questions at all, contact me through the comments or email me at thebluestarindustrialarts@gmail.com, and I'll answer any questions you have. So I'm going to get going on this, and you'll see it when it's complete. Yowza! So here is some shots of the finished product. As you can see, we got our lamp in place and our bulb cage, Edison bulb in there. That's an LED bulb, by the way. They're about $9, but they're worth it. You'll see in a minute. Yeah, came out good. It's a unique lamp. We got our turning gear, and we have our steam switch. Viola, the light comes on, and well, let me turn off the fluorescence and see what kind of. Sorry about that camera work, man. Yeah, these LED lights, I think they're pretty cool. They have like an amber type of glow to them, and they're pretty neat. So, that's the project. I enjoyed making it. I enjoyed conjuring it up. And this puppy is going to be for sale. The problem with selling these things, I mean, they sell. People like this stuff, especially these city dwellers. Who, you know, if I had a loft kind of apartment in the city, I'd probably want something like this too. Problem is shipping them. There is, this guy goes, I would say, the weight on this thing is 15 pounds maybe. You know, it's all of these fittings and so forth, and the gear and the gauges. This gear's got to be a couple of pounds just by itself. And, you know, the dimensions, you know, so you need a big box to ship this thing in. There's no removable parts. You can't, like, break this thing down. I mean, you can, but it's a pain in the ass, and you just got to reassemble it and put it back together. You know, and does anybody want to buy a lamp that they have to put together and then wire the socket up and all of that stuff? I don't think so. So I'm going to wait until some local trade shows or craft shows come up, and I'll have this on the table with a few more that I'm going to make. But I think this one is unique, and I guarantee you, folks, you won't find another lamp that looks like this. That's for sure. This is different, and I kind of like it. I like the idea of a non-static part in an otherwise static piece, and it is steampunky. So anyway, that's the project. If you have any questions, again, just shoot me a comment or an email, and I'll be happy to answer what I can. Until then, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one. Bye.